Hi guys, welcome or welcome back to Randomly Random. I am Bwami, your internet bestie. Today, we're watching and reacting to part 2 of the TV series Manifest. In part 1, we left up where Kelly, one of the A28 flight passengers who was being vocal about the experience, was shot dead by someone. Also, the cancer scientist, Savvy, had just found some sort of protein in Paul San's blood. Protein that was in there before their flight. Guys, let's see if these mysteries will be solved in part 2. Get your snacks ready and let's get into it.
Sanvi runs some tests on her blood sample and finds a foreign protein similar to the one in Cal's blood. She believes that something happened on the plane that caused the protein to miraculously appear in every passenger. As she is telling Ben about this on the phone, he finds a condom under his bed. He figures it must belong to Grace's boyfriend Danny. Outside, Cal's old best friend Kevin arrives at the house to meet Olive. Cal is shocked to discover that Kevin is dating his twin. In a fit of rage, he tells his parents that Olive snuck out of the house last night. Olive, on the other hand, is disappointed because they never break the twin pact. Later, she calls him out for it, and Cal reveals that he doesn't feel like himself because of all.
I like that they are now giving us context as to how Kyle is feeling, because in episode 1 and 2, remember I said it in part 1. I was like, we don't really know what Kyle is going through. I mean, he just came back from a flight, which he thought lasted like 2 hours, and apparently it lasted 5 years, and his twin is now a teenager. His best friend is now a teenager, and he's still like 8 years old. Of course, that must hurt. So I love that they are now giving us an insight as to how Carl is feeling. The funny thing is in episode 1 and 2, that is in part, our review of part 1, I did not see their similarities or their alikeness, but now I'm actually seeing it. I won't be shocked if these two people are actually siblings in real life. Let's continue. Yeah, and I don't think that things would ever go back to normal. Like, your sister has 5 years added to her life, 5 years of life experience that you don't necessarily have. I don't think they might ever relate, in that way. Maybe they might relate in terms of twin telepathy or whatever that term is. But not in terms of like life experiences or understanding each other. But let's continue and see what happens.
Because of all the changes, the twins solve their differences and return to being their normal selves. Meanwhile, Ben and Michaela go to Kelly's mall to investigate her death. They find a woman who runs away as soon as she sees them. The siblings catch her and inquire how she knows Kelly. It turns out that Kelly's husband Taylor threatens and abuses the mall workers every day because they are illegal immigrants. The last time Kelly came here, the girl pushed her because she thought she was here to do the same, but Kelly revealed she wanted to help the workers. Ben and Michaela discover that Taylor killed his wife because she was trying to change the way he manages their business, which would result in a loss. They bring Taylor in for questioning, but he has several alibis of the night saying that he was in a restaurant. Moreover, no evidence hints that he hired a hitman. As a result, he is declared innocent. In the following scene, Ben finds a stranger in his house and attacks him, but he turns out to be a friend of Grace. After his departure, Ben loses his temper and asks Grace how many men she has had in the house. Grace replies that the guy used to come to fix the sink and help them in their time of need. She was alone for 5 years, raising a daughter and running a...
Okay. I mean, that's nice of him if he's your neighbor or something. If he's like coming from like 2 hours away or 1 hour away from you just to fix your sink. I don't know. I feel like you could call plumbers. I know that will cost, but I'm sure she worked. You could call a plumber to come fix your sink, but okay.
Business, which means she had to take people's help. Ben apologizes for his outburst, but their relationship doesn't seem to be the same. Later that night, Michaela goes to Evie's house to apologize to her parents yet again. She is received by Evie's father, who reveals that Beverly is missing. She has been asked by the police to stay home in case she returns, but someone has to look for her around the neighborhood. Michaela immediately gets in his car and drives around the block. She comes across Beverly at a junction where a car is about to hit her. After confirming that Beverly is okay, Michaela goes to the other car and finds Kelly's maid inside. She has Kelly's missing necklace by her side, which confirms that she is the killer. In the following scene, the maid confesses her crimes. She and Taylor had started a new life together after Kelly's disappearance, but after she returned, the maid was back to being a stranger to Taylor. Hence, she killed her out of her jealousy and stole her necklace. Michaela is praised for solving her second case in less than a month.
Ma'am, really? So you killed another man's wife because of the man? Like, you couldn't leave the man to handle his business and tell his wife that, yes, it's been 5 years and he's in a new relationship with you? You had to go kill her and take her necklace. Like, that's all you wanted? What? And you can't tell me that the husband did not suspect the maid. If they were in a relationship, then yeah. Or it means that the husband probably didn't love the maid. He was just using her as some form of like convenience because his wife wasn't around. But I get it. It's been 5 years. So if you've moved on, it's fine. I'm sure Kelly would have, it would have hurt her, but she would have understood that, yeah, it's been 5 years. You guys thought I was dead. So of course you moved on with our maid. It's either we work on this or I leave you to be with the maid. Why do you have to kill somebody? People are just weird, you know. People are just weird. People are, because of bitterness, because the man was not really regarding you anymore. You go kill his wife, okay.
At home, Grace tells Ben that he is the love of her life. She never stopped loving him in all of the 5 years that she thought he was dead. They hug each other and solve their differences.
Okay.
Later that day, Ben and Michaela go to meet Sanvi. She has found out that every passenger's MRI shows the symptoms of a stroke victim. This would mean that all of them had a stroke when they were on the plane, but no one felt it. To find out more about the matter, Sanvi needs to experiment on Kelly's brain, but it turns out that it has been transported by a government agency to a secret location. Meanwhile, Vance's team is keeping a close eye on.
Why? See, in pattern, I was thinking that the government is suspicious. Because remember that Kelly was going on TV telling people that she thinks the 828 flight got missing because the government did something. I know it's a national security issue, but why is her body why is it that her body hasn't been given to her family yet? Why has a government agency basically confined her body? Why? That means they really want to carry out experiments on these people, and because she's dead, they've gotten the perfect chance to carry out an experiment on one of them to find out what is going on, or to hide what they have done. That could also be another angle. Let's continue and see what happens.
The passengers present at the airport at the time the plane exploded. They are actively trying to find connections between the passengers and how they had the same urge at the same time. A flashback from the day of disappearance shows us that the flight attendant, Bethany, was doing something fishy on the plane. Sanvi is walking down the hallways in the hospital when suddenly she sees a moving statue in front of her. There are also wet footprints on the floor, but they disappear when she looks back at them. It seems to be another calling, but she cannot make sense of it. A while later, a frantic patient jumps at her, saying that the flight attendant is behind all this. Sanvi is shocked because he knows Bethany's name as well. Somewhere else, Michaela and Jared are paired for a mission where they have to stay outside a gang's hideout until they are asked to barge in. While they are at it, Michaela finds out that Jared pulled some strings to make him pair up with her. Suddenly, she sees an angel statue in front of her and gets a...
Why did he pull strings so that she'll be paired with him? It's either he's surveilling her without her knowing. Like, it's either he finds that she has been able to solve all these cases ever since she came back in that short period, and he wants to find out how or why she's doing it, or he still likes her, which will be wrong because he's now married to her best friend. So my guy, I hope that even though both cases are very weird, I hope that it's at least the former, that he's just surveilling her to find out how she's able to solve all these cases in such a short period of time since she has been back. Okay.
calling asking her to save him. In the meantime, Olive and her friend are at a cosmetics shop trying out a new makeup line. Olive wants to buy lipstick but has no money. She instinctively shoplifts it. However, a guard catches her in the act. Later, Ben goes to pick her up but finds Danny already with her. He is Grace's ex-boyfriend who Olive still thinks of as a father figure. He hands Olive over and walks away, but Ben cannot help but feel disheartened. He realizes that he is no longer the first person Olive thinks of when she is in trouble. Meanwhile, Michaela makes the connection that the voice is asking her to save the person who has gone undercover in the mission. She convinces Jared to barge in even though it might destroy the entire mission. To their misfortune, the calling is wrong and the mission is botched. Jared is blamed for the mishap because he is the one who made the call. Olive feels awful for what she did, but she didn't want her father to know she is a screw-up. Ben makes her understand that he loves her as much as he loved her 5 years ago, no matter how much she has changed. Then, we see Sanvi go to the air hostess's place and tell her about the mentally ill patient who knows her. Bethany finally reveals that the man's name is Thomas. He is a gay man who was about to be killed by his family in Jamaica. Hence, Bethany helped him by getting him on the plane. When they landed, he was supposed to get out of the cargo hatch and meet his boyfriend in the city. However, because of everything that happened, he was left alone in an unknown city. Someone turned him into the police and he ended up in the hospital. Sanvi and Bethany go to the hospital to free him, but they find out he has already escaped. He does.
Okay. I guess it's good that this is the only bad thing she did, because I was like, how did she cause the plane to vanish? But she was just like helping somebody illegally. I feel like I've been able to breathe a sigh of relief knowing that the only thing she did was help somebody illegally, not necessarily contribute to the plane disappearing and reappearing 5 years later, except she's hiding something more. Let's see if we'll find out in part 2.
Know anyone in the city, which means they have no way to find him before the police do. They meet Michaela outside the hospital and run away because Vance is also in the building looking for them. He has found out that Thomas was in the cargo hold of Flight 828 because of his fingerprints. Bethany is told about the wet footprints and the angel statue that Sanvi and Michaela have been seeing. She realizes that the calling is pointing towards the Bethesda fountain that has an angel statue standing on top, with their feet inside water. When they reach the place, Thomas is sitting by the fountain. It is finally proven that the callings were asking Michaela to help Thomas. They bring the poor guy to Kelly's boiler room, which has been closed for years. He has to stay there for a few days before they decide what to do next. In the following scene, Michaela and Ben are returning home. Ben thinks they should start avoiding the callings because it is putting their lives in danger. He's afraid that eventually, his family will be harmed because of this. Then, we are shown a flashback from 5 years ago. Grace and the family are on their flight back to New York. Olive insists that they stay at the airport until Flight 828 arrives, but since that will take a few more hours, they return home. They are soon informed that the flight has disappeared mid-air with no evidence of a crash. Jared, Lourdes, Grace, and the family are worried about the three on the plane, unaware of what is about to happen next. A few months later, Grace is shut.
Oh, so now they are showing us the perspective of the family that waited for them for 5 years. That's cool, yeah.
Down
we need
from
that
the world
perspective.
and fallen into a spiral of depression. Olive has to eat whatever is in the house and take care of her mother at the same time. When Grace realizes she is hurting her daughter, she goes to support groups and therapy. This is where she meets Danny, who makes her laugh for the first time after the incident. Lourdes and Jared are also mourning together. This makes them bond and understand each other like no one else. 2 years after the incident, Jared is promoted and they go to a bar to celebrate. One thing leads to another and they end up kissing. Back in the present, Ben refuses to help Thomas for the safety of his family. However, a voice in his head is repeatedly telling him that it's all connected. He and Cal go out for a guy's day together to get their mind off things. After having fun at the carnival, they decide to take the subway back home. Suddenly, Cal runs away, driven by a calling. He runs down several tunnels, shouting that everything.
Oh, so Carl is also having callings. Yeah, because in part 1, that is episode 1 and 2, I was wondering if he has callings because they weren't really showing his perspective.
Is connected. Ben is shocked to realize that his son is also experiencing the abnormal phenomenon.
Why are you
Somewhere
shocked?
else,
He was
Vance
on the
is losing
flight.
his
Hello?
mind because they lost Thomas, and no one has any information on him. But he finds out that Bethany was in the hospital at the time.
Wait, you mean to tell me that Thomas was like a convict? Oh no, so okay, I get it. The police caught him and he wasn't a citizen, so of course he would have a mark shot. Okay, I get it. It's not like he was a criminal before he came to the US.
Thomas escaped, which leads them to think she is the one hiding him. Bethany is with her girlfriend, and they are about to go to Thomas with food and supplies. But just then, Vance finds her and arrests her for helping an illegal immigrant come to the US.
No.
After running for several minutes, Cal stops when he reaches the place where
I mean, don't go anywhere illegally, okay? It's not like I support that. I'm just saying, oh no, because of the context of everything, okay? So don't get me wrong.
Thomas is hidden. Ben is in utter shock. Now that he knows Cal is also involved in this, he is ready to help Thomas and serve the callings. A while later, Cal says that someone is coming to get them. It turns out the person is Bethany's girlfriend, who is here to bring Thomas to a safer place. At the same time, Danny meets Grace and tells her that he still wants to be involved in Olive's life. For 3 years, he has been a parent to her and he cannot just stop loving her like a father. He promises to stay out of Grace and Ben's relationship, but begs her to let him see Olive once in a while.
Let's see. I get him, but I don't get him. It's like, I get it. He has formed a bond with her and everything, but okay, so far as, I mean, he can be like an uncle in her life, you know, like a godfather, but so far as he doesn't interfere with her parent relationship, like he's saying. But if I was in this situation, if I was Paul, I wouldn't feel comfortable, like if I was the girl's real father. But you know, having a larger community of people that love you is also very effective. So, I mean, I feel like just to show her that she has many people that love her regardless, they should probably allow it, you know. I mean, he's not asking to see her every day and like be her father. He's asking to see her once in a while. So I think that's cool, right? Plus, she seems to trust him because she called him first when she was caught for shoplifting. So, hey.
In the following scene, Jared comes back home to Lourdes. She has found out that he put his job at risk for Michaela. She knows how much he loves his job, and this would mean he is ready to sacrifice it for the sake of his ex-fiancée. The two are facing relationship troubles because of Michaela's return. Jared tells Lourdes that he loves her, but even he isn't sure if it is true. Then, we see the day when the plane returned after 5 years. Danny found out and didn't argue before seeing himself out of the house. Similarly, Jared and Lourdes were at a loss for words and didn't know what they should do. In the present, Ben is doing his best to make connections between the callings and their purpose in life. He tells Michaela that he is doing it all for Cal, to make sure the callings won't hurt him. Subscribe for more videos like this. Turn on the notification.
Guys, you know it. You know we are coming back for part 3 on Monday, okay? So stay tuned. Get locked in. I love that in episode 3 and 4, they sort of gave us the perspective of everybody, people that were not on the plane and waiting for their loved ones for 5 years, what's happening. And they gave us like just a gist of an insight as to what happened on the plane, like Bethany smuggling somebody in illegally. But of course, there's more to unravel, and we still don't know that protein that has been found in everybody's blood, you know, and that evidence of stroke found in everybody's brain who was on the plane. So we have more to dig in. I'm loving this series, guys. If you enjoyed this watch party, please do like this video and come back on Monday for part 3. Part 1 is linked in the description box. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye, guys.